Hi, it's Paul Roy from Profitable Practice Pro. And thank you for joining me, whether you're watching live today or on the replay as it sits on my feed. And today's topic is something that's near and dear to me, and it's called trust. Pardon me. And there's a lot of lack of trust in our society today, in our business environment. And this is, of course, partly because of the fact we're being sold to, marketed to, our inboxes are full of pitches. Our email inboxes are full. And where does it come from? Where does it derive from? And we've lost, and I hate to go, I'm not one for, of course, I have my political opinions, but, we've lost trust in what people tell us to be the truth. Politicians, for one. But I just use as an example. But even having somebody answer their phone nowadays is a very rare occurrence. Why? Because they're afraid of being sold something, or they might be asked a question they don't want or need to know the answer to. So we'll just leave it alone, let it go to voicemail, or we may not answer it. It's not a trust building exercise. But if I can go back to some things that I've been experiencing and seen over the years with my age and maturity and been involved in the business world a long time, that 10, 15 years ago, if you were holding an event, whether it was put out on Facebook or earlier versions of how we communicated and promoted ourselves, that over 75% of people who said they would attend show up. And nowadays, for an event that I might be hosting, which could have 50, 60, 70 people say they're going to come and have less than 10% actually show up. And it's a little hard on the head, and you're going, hey, I'm offering great value here. Why aren't they coming? But if it wasn't important enough to them, then they wouldn't show up. So, how do we get around that? Because there's a huge scramble to be noticed, and it's off the charts. And the marketers are making bold promises to fill our calendars, to fill our order pads, and often to disappointment. And I have one accounting firm client that uses an agency to book people on their calendar to interview them for their accounting services. These are booked appointments. Less than 50% of the booked appointments show up. I've got numerous clients when they're looking for clients. And I will say that without turning this into a sales pitch, I do have a system that helps increase the number of people that actually do show up. But people don't show up for interviews, don't call, don't cancel. They just don't. What's going on? And it really boils down to a lack of respect, and that we feel that people don't respect our time. But if we respect their time and how we approach them, that will increase the amount they respect us, an important step of the trust process. And I referred to in a post with my friend Paul Snell over in England this morning, who I communicate a lot with, in talking about the buyer's journey. And how often are we educating or rushing to close before we've even done a handshake? And when you look at the buyer's journey, and we talked about this, the amount of people scrambling to get noticed. But when they do, it's how do we engage with them? That it's comfortable, it's understanding, and it's not till we do the connection and the engagement that we move to the educational process. And the educational process is ensuring that we're valuing that individual's time, and the services or products that we offer are in fact something they need. And we're all gun shy from being sold something that we don't need or don't want. Not a trust building exercise. But it's not until the trust or the educational process of your product or service is put forward that you can make an offer. And that should be permission based, not put it out and sold based. That just happens to be my feeling, something that has worked for me over the decades. But getting that is, again, very difficult. Many of us have emailing platforms. I've got thousands of people on my email list. And we scramble. What's the open rate? It's 2, 3, 5, 10%. 20%, you go, wow, really good content. But what used to take 7 touches to get somebody to respond to a call to action is now 11, 12 touches. And what does that speak to? It's just noise. They're not interested in what you have to sell. So how do we get back to this building trust? How do we prove our authenticity? And that takes time. And rushing to close is not the way to do it. So we have to increase the personal touches with people who know us and like us and are willing to listen to us. It's referrals. It's being authentic so that people do actually trust you for what you're saying and what you can offer. And yes, we all know about persistence. And the last thing we want to be when we're following up with a prospective client is like a bad cold that won't go away. It comes back to the trust and the respect that I spoke about earlier. And, I've been on this soapbox screaming about accountants not picking up their phone. I have the irony of having 2 contractor clients who happen to share the same CPA firm, the principal in that firm. And these are clients that are in the $5 and $10 million revenue range. And their accountant will take 7 days to 10 days to return their phone call. But the individual's good at knowing his business and what their clients need, but just desperate in terms of how they should be communicating with their clients. And trust is earned through communication. So keep that in mind, business owners and accounting firm owners out there, that this thing can weigh 100 pounds, or if you're feeling that it can impede your productivity, you are wrong. Communication is the way to do it. But in closing, I want to leave a tip for all these people that are filling your inbox and your message box and leaving you voice messages. There's one way to stop all of this background noise, and that is for you to understand what you really need and what you really want. Anything else, you're just going to be like Teflon. It's going to bounce off you. You're going to delete it. Best thing you can do is type in stop or no thank you. Please remove me from the list. I get several of these a week, and I honor those commitments from these people on my mailing list. It's those things, and even responding personally to say, I've removed you from the list, is a trust building exercise and possibly the opportunity for a referral, even though they weren't interested in my services. So that is the key to turning down the noise and gaining the trust of those who you want to communicate with. So I leave you with that. I'll look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Thanks, and press on forward and have a great and productive and profitable day. All for now, Paul Roy, Profitable Practice Pro.